Surendreshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyo Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, so we will continue our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1, Chapter 19. Verse number we have to do, right? We have to do 15 or 14? No, 14 we did, I know. 15 did we do? Or, I think we have to do 15,
Mataji, we have
right?
to do 16. We have to do 16.
Yeah. Okay. I was just confused. Did we do 15? Okay, so quickly, anybody remember anything quickly? What did we do yesterday?
Hare Krishna Mataji. I remember that yesterday we discussed about how all the sages and rishis went to see the darshan of Maharaj Pariksit because he was leaving his body, and the Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken, and Maharaj Pariksit took a vow for fasting, and he obeisance to all the rishis and sages, and he took permission. He took consult with them with that this decision. Yeah, I remember.
So, Parikshit Maharaj received all the sages very, very appropriately, offering obeisances even though he was the king, and the sages came actually to see him because he is a pure devotee of the Lord. And we discussed something that Kokilavantaji asked, right? Why did he have to leave? Did it like in the purport? Srila Prabhupada mentioned that the king and he himself, actually Parikshit Maharaj himself, mentioned him as if for saintly personalities, people like himself, kings like himself, are like the discarded toilet kind of places, right? But because his ancestors, Pandavas, they were great devotees, that's why these sages, they are kind upon him and giving him their association. So he expressed his gratitude, and out of humility, he expressed himself to be as a discard. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioned about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that people who are like, I forgot the exact words, but who are in the kingly position, we should actually stay away from them, right? That, yeah. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that to be in intimate touch with dollar and cents men or the kingly order is worse than suicide for one who desires to go back to Godhead. In other words, the transcendentalists do not generally associate with men who are too enamored by the external beauty of God's creation, right? And then he asked the authorities, and also we heard that because Parikshit Maharaj took a decision to sit at the bank of the Ganga and give up his life, right? And then in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada described that before we take any major kind of decision, we should actually discuss with authorities, right? So he is discussing it with the sages. So some important points. Yeah. Yeah, so very, very beautiful words coming up, verse number 16. So he is going to express his desire. Let's, 1 second. I am sharing my screen. So verse number 16. Okay, so what's okay, so let's read. Someone wants to read?
Can I read, Mataji?
Yeah, sure.
16. Punascha bhuyad bhagavatyante rati prasangascha tadasresu mahatsu yamupyami sristim metrastu sarvatra namo dujebhyah. Translation and purpose. Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Again, offering obeisances unto all you brahmanas, I pray that if I should again take my birth in the material world, I will have complete attachment to the unlimited Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Krishna, association with his devotee and friendly relation with all living beings. But Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. That a devotee of the Lord is the only perfect living being is explained here by Maharaj Parikshit. A devotee of the Lord is no one's enemy. Although there may be many enemies of a devotee of the Lord does not like to associate with non-devotees. Although he has no enmity with them, he desired association with the devotee of the Lord. He is perfectly natural because bird of the same father mixed together. And the most important functions of the devotee is to have complete attachment for the Lord Sri Krishna, the father of all living beings. As a good son of the father behaves in a friendly way with all his other brothers, so also the devotee of Lord, being a good son of the Supreme Father. Lord Krishna see all other living beings in relation with the Supreme Father. He tries to bring back the upstart son of the Father to the sinner stage and to get them to accept the supreme fatherhood of God. Maharaj Parikshit was certainly going back to Godhead, but even if he were not go back, he prayed for a pattern of life which is the most perfect way in the material world. A pure devotee does not desire to company of a personality as great as Brahma, but he preferred the association of petty living beings, provided he is a devotee of the Lord. Hari Bol.
You want to say something?
So, just a little bit, Mataji. Very beautiful purport. So in this verse, Srila Prabhupada is explaining about Maharaj Parikshit's desire. So Maharaj Parikshit is offering obeisances unto all Brahmanas and praying that if he take rebirth in this material world, his desire is to associate with devotee and friendly relationship with all living beings, because all living entity comes from Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So yeah, we all are same. Thank you, Mataji. Go ahead.
Yeah, very, very important verse. So see what Maharaj Parikshit wants basically. That if he has to come back and take birth again in material world, complete three things he is asking for: unlimited attachment to Krishna, association of devotees, and friendly relationship with all living beings. So these kind of aspirations, there are other in Krishna Lila, like when he goes to Mathura, he meets that, what is that, flower, flower, who gives him the flower garland. Anybody remembers his name? Sudama? No. Forgot the name of the personality who, so Krishna, he goes to Kubja, and then this washerman who refused to give the garments to Krishna and Balram, and he gets killed. And then he goes to the gardener, who gives the flower garland. Krishna just looks at the garland and he gives. And then he also asks for these three benediction: attachment to Krishna, association with devotee, and relationship with all living entities. So, like in our Shad Goswami Ashtakams also, here Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that a devotee does not have any, is no one's enemy. There may be enemies of the devotee, but the devotee is not inimical to anybody. They want the benefit of all. So like in our Shad Goswami Ashtakam, we hear, right? Dhira dhira jana priya karo, nirmat saro pujitav. Right? That one. Dhira dhira jana priya karo, nirmat saro pujitav, Shri Chaitanya kripa bharo bhuvi bhuvo Bharavahantarako Vande Rupa Sanatanau Raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalako. That is in the first one. So its translation is like this: I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are always engaged in the chanting of the holy name of Krishna and dancing. They are just like the ocean of love of God, and they are popular both with the gentle and with the ruffians, because they are not envious of anyone. Whatever they do, they are all pleasing to everyone, and they are fully blessed by Lord Chaitanya. So that is what they are, friendly to whether somebody is a ruffian or somebody is a devotee. So for them, they see everybody equally, because they see Krishna in all living entities. And as Srila Prabhupada very nicely writes, that the good son of the Supreme Lord, they act nicely in relationship with all their other brothers, basically, right? So that is how the devotees, they see everybody else as sons of the Supreme Father Krishna. So it's same as we were doing in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. After 34 verse, that Vidi Pranipatena Pariparshanena Sevya Updakshanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattvadarshina. After we receive that transcendental knowledge from a Tattvadarshi, what happens in 35, Krishna says that then we can see the super soul in every living entity. So that is the kind of knowledge. So this is such a aspiration that I want attachment to the Supreme Lord, association of devotee, and friendly relationship with all living entities. Yeah, so very, very inspiring purport. And this part, this again, Srila Prabhupada brings about the preaching. The real compassion is when we bring the suffering living conditioned souls back to Krishna. He tries to bring back the upstart sons of the Father to a saner stage and to get them to accept the supreme fatherhood of God. So how beautifully Srila Prabhupada writes all these sentences. Yeah. All right, so should we move on to the next verse?
Yes, Mataji, and the flower seller's name was Sudama.
Sudama, yeah, that's what I was just I was getting confused with this Sudama and the other Sudama, Brahman. The florist, yes, Sudama, the florist. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu, for confirming the name. All right, so someone wants to read the next verse, 17.
I can read, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Itisma Rajdiya Vasayam Yukta Prachinam Mulesu Kusesu Tira Udan Mukho Dakshina Kula Aste Samudra Patanya Swasuta Nyasta Bhara. Translation of Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. In perfect self-control, Maharaj Parikshit sat down on a seat of straw with straw roots facing the east, placed on the southern banks of the Ganges, and he himself faced the north. He just previously he had given charge of his kingdoms over to his son. Purport. River Ganges is celebrated as the wife of the sea. The seat of Kusa straw is considered to be sanctified if the straw is taken out of the earth complete with root, and if the root is pointed towards the east, it is considered to be auspicious. Facing north is still more favorable for attaining spiritual success. Maharaj Parikshit handed over the charge of the administration to his son before leaving home. He was thus fully equipped with all favorable conditions.
Very bold. Yeah, Prabhu, you want to say something?
Yes, Patari, one thing that the spiritual life, of course, is good always, but there are some favorable things we can do to help our spiritual life. Like in this case, Maharaj Parikshit, the way he was sitting, the positioning, that's why we have this facing east, and even the house, buying the house facing east, I guess, it does make a difference in the spiritual life. We might not realize it, but that helps for our spiritual life. And he also he gave up the kingdom before he did this. So it also tells us a lesson that as we age, we should start relinquishing some of these duties we have and bindings and be more focused on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, very simple. Yeah, Prabhu. So whatever auspiciousness we can add, of course, devotional service is the most auspicious, but to bring ourselves to a little, so that it's easier for us to perform, all these things we can add, right? A sacred space, direction, and all those kind of things. All right, so let's move on to the next verse, 18. Someone wants to read?
I can read, Mataji.
Sure, Mataji, thank you.
एवं च तस्मिन् नरदेव देवे प्रायो पविस्ते दिवि देवा संगः तस्यस्य भौमो व्यकिरन् दासुमे मुदा मुहुर् दुन्दुभयश्च मेदु. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thus, the king Maharaj Pariksit said to fast until death. All the demigods of the higher planets praised the king's action and in pleasure continually scattered flowers over the earth and beat celestial drums. Purport. Even up to the time of Maharaj Pariksit, there were interplanetary communications, and the news of Maharaj Pariksit's fasting unto death to attain salvation reached the higher planets in the sky where the intelligent demigods live. The demigods are more luxurious than human beings, but all of them are obedient to the orders of the Supreme Lord. There is no one in the heavenly planets who is an atheist or non-believer. Thus, any devotee of the Lord on the surface of the earth is always praised by them. And in the case of Maharaj Pariksit, they were greatly delighted and thus gave tokens of honor by scattering flowers over the earth and by beating celestial drums. A demigod takes pleasure in seeing someone go back to Godhead. He is always pleased with a devotee of the Lord, so much so that by his Adidaivic powers, he may help the devotees in all respects. and by their actions, the Lord is pleased with them. There is an invisible chain of complete cooperation between the Lord, the demigods, and the devotee of the Lord, the devotees of the Lord on earth. Hare Krishna.
Mata, you want to say something?
Yeah, so here Srila Prabhupada explained the Maharaj Parikshit is a very great devotee and he is going back to Godhead. So that the news all the way reached to the higher planets, to the demigods even. And demigods are very happy to see Maharaj Parikshit, and he, by for his honor, they scattered some flowers to the earth, and they did a celestial drums. And say the even the demigods are very happy to see Maharaj Pariksit going back to Godhead, and because they are the servants of the Supreme Lord, so they always give respect to the Supreme Lord, and uh, also the Maharaj Pariksit. They are very happy to see, and they say there is a connection between the Lord and the demigods, and even the devotees of the Lord on the earth.
Yeah. Yeah. By his Adhidevika powers, he may help the devotee in all respects. So the demigods are so pleased with the devotees that his Adhidevika powers, he may help the devotee in all respect. So if we become the devotees of the Lord, means if we water the root, then all the branches and everything is so pleased, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to verse number 19. Someone wants to read?
I can read Mataji.
Sure.
Maharsayo vai samupagata ye prasasya sadvitya anumodamanaha uchuhu prajanugrahashilasara yatyuttama sloka gunabhirupam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All the great sages who were assembled there also praised the decision of Maharaj Parikshit, and they expressed their approval by saying, very, very good. Naturally, the sages are inclined to do good to common men, for they have all the qualitative powers of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they were very much pleased to see Maharaj Parikshit, a devotee of the Lord, and they spoke as follows. Purport. The natural beauty of a living being is enhanced by his rising up to the platform of devotional service. Maharaj Parikshit was observed in attachment for Lord Krishna. Seeing this, the great sages assembled were very pleased, and they expressed their approval by saying, very good. Such sages are naturally inclined to do good to the common man, and when they see a personality like Maharaj Parikshit advance in devotional service, their pleasure knows no bounds, and they offer all blessings in their power. The devotional service of the Lord is so auspicious that all demigods and sages up to Lord himself become pleased with the devotee, and therefore the devotee finds everything auspicious. All inauspicious matters are removed from the path of the progressive devotee. Meeting all the great sages at the time of death was certainly auspicious for Maharaj Parikshit, and thus he was blessed by the so-called curse of the Brahmana boy. Hari Bol.
Yeah. So you want to
Yeah,
say?
Mataji. So it's very clear that the sages are all very have the same quality as the Supreme Lord, and they are always very happy to see any person in a Krishna conscious or God conscious. They are very, very happy. So they all of them assembled, and it's very auspicious because having all the sages while you're at the time of death is very auspicious, and they are saying that it is not a curse, it's actually the curse of the Brahmana boy is actually is a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah. So because see, just by that, he took the right decision. He could detach himself from the family life, and then he's going back to Godhead. All the demigods, all the sages are blessing him. So he's receiving the blessings of everyone, basically, right? Yeah. So how can we please anyone is that devotional service. This is what Srila Prabhupada. The devotional service of the Lord is so auspicious that all demigods and sages up to the Lord himself become pleased with the devotee, and therefore the devotee finds everything auspicious. So all inauspiciousness is completely removed from his path. And it is only and only and only devotional service that can actually do that. Right? Otherwise, the tendency to sin remains. If one adopts some other kind of processes, the tendency to sin still remains. But if we engage in devotional service, the tendency to commit sins is eradicated. Like in Ajamil's pastime, there it says that, what is that? Krichit kevala bhakta vasudev parayana Agam Dhunvanti Katsne Niharam Eva Bhaskara. Just like when the sun rises, all the darkness is removed. Similarly, when we do this bhakti, Kichit Kevalya Bhakta Vasudev Prana, then everything, the sinning tendency to the root is destroyed complete. Only way is this devotional service to the Lord. And also Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya mam avijanati yavan yashyasmi tatvatat tato mam tatvato gyatva vishyate tat anantaram. Right? That only by bhakti we can know him. Only by bhakti we can please him. And once he is pleased, then he just gives himself to the devotee. Okay, so let's move on to the next verse 20. Someone wants to read?
I can read, Mataji. Na va idam rajarshi varya chitram bhavatu krishnam sammanuvrateshu edhyasanam rajakrita chushtam sadyo jahur bhagavat parshava kamaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
He just said, O chief of all the saintly kings of the Pandu dynasty, strictly in the line of Lord Shri Krishna, it is not at all astonishing that you gave up your throne, which is decorated with the helmets of many kings, to achieve eternal association with the personality of Godhead. Purport. Foolish politicians who hold political administrative posts think that the temporary posts they occupy are the highest material gain of life, and therefore they stick to this post even to the last moment of life, without knowing that achievement of liberation as one of the associates of the Lord in his eternal abode is the highest gain of life. The human life is meant for achieving this end. The Lord has assured in the Bhagavad Gita many times that going back to Godhead, his eternal abode is the highest achievement. Prahlad Maharaj, while praying to Lord Narasimha, said, "O my Lord, I am very much afraid of the materialistic way of life, and I am not the least afraid of your present ghastly, ferocious feature as Narasimha Dev. This materialistic way of life is something like a grinding stone. We are being crushed by it. We have fallen into this horrible whirlpool of the tossing waves of life, and thus, my Lord, I pray at your lotus feet to call me back to your eternal abode as one of your servitors. This is the summit liberation of this materialistic way of life. I have very bitter experience of the materialistic way of life. In whichever species of life I've taken birth, compelled by the force of my own activities, I've very painfully experienced two things, namely separation from my beloved and meeting with what it is not wanted. And to counteract them, the remedies which I undertook were more dangerous than the disease itself. So I drift from one point to another, birth after birth, and I pray to you, therefore, to give me a shelter at your lotus feet." The Pandava kings, who are more than many saints of the world, knew the bitter results of this materialistic way of the life. They were never captivated by the glare of the imperial throne they occupied, and they sought always the opportunity of being called by the Lord to associate with him eternally. Maharaj Parikshit was the worthy grandson of Maharaj Yudhishthir. Maharaj Yudhishthir gave up the imperial throne to his grandson, and similarly Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson, Maharaj Yudhishthir gave up the imperial throne to his grandson, and similarly Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of Maharaj Yudhishthir, gave up the imperial throne to his son Janmejaya. This is the way of all the kings in the dynasty because they are all strictly in the line of Lord Krishna. Thus, the devotees of the Lord are never enchanted by the glare of materialistic life, and they live impartially, unattached to the objects of the false, illusory, materialistic way of life. Hari Bol, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So here, Mataji, again, the saints, the sages are very happy that Maharaj Parikshit has taken this vow of fasting unto death, and they're saying that they're not at all astonished because he is strictly in the line of Lord Krishna, and his vow to achieve the lotus feet of Krishna is not astonishing because devotees like him, like Prahlad Maharaj in the purport is given that they consider this materialistic life is like a whirlpool of miseries. So they always want to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they want to take his shelter and always want to keep serving him. But this materialistic life keeps bringing so much miseries that sometimes you want to find a solution to it, and that solution can be more dangerous than the disease itself. So but after the birth, they're suffering, but pure devotees like them, they're just only looking with shelter of the lotus feet. And the other point which is important in the purport is like how Maharaj Yudhishthir gave up his throne to Maharaj Parikshit, to worthy grandson. And similarly, Maharaj Parikshit also, when he knew that his time has come up, he's not attached to this throne for the material gain of life. He's a Rajarshi, he's completely unattached to the material things of the life, and he's giving up all this material things to just be fixed, focused on one thing, which is achieving the lotus.
Yeah. So the sages, they are appreciating Maharaj Parikshit to give up the materialistic life in exchange with going back to personality of Godhead for the eternal association of the Lord. And parallelly, Purport Srila Prabhupada is describing about Maharaj Parikshit, how he said that I am afraid of the materialistic life, but not of the ferocious form of Lord Nrsimhadev. That's what. And then he also says that I know the experiences of material life. It is separation from your beloved ones and then meeting with those things that we don't want, right? That's what happens. So it's like the best ways to get out of this materialistic life, right? Yeah. So very nicely Srila Prabhupada is describing parallel of Prahlad Maharaj. So I drift from one point to another, birth after birth, and I pray to you, therefore, to give me the shelter at your lotus feet. So, yeah. And Parikshit Maharaj is doing that, and sages are appreciating that. All right, so we can do the next verse, 21. Someone wants to read?
Mataji, can I read?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Sarve vayam tav dihasma hestha kalevaram yav daso vihai lokam param virajaskam vishokam yasya tayam bhagvat pradhana. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. We shall all wait here until the foremost devotee of the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit, returns to the supreme planet, which is completely free from all mundane contamination, and all kinds of lamentation. Purport. Beyond the limitations of material creation, which is compared to the cloud in the sky, there is the Para Yoma, or the spiritual sky, full of planets called Vakunthas. Such Vakuntha planets are also differently known as Purushottam Loka, Achyuta Loka, Trivikram Loka, Rishikesha Loka, Keshava Loka, Aniruddha Loka, and Madhava Loka. Pradyumna Loka, Sanskarshana Loka, Siddhara Loka, Vasudeva Loka, Ayodhya Loka, Dwardaka Loka, and many other millions of spiritual lokas wherein the personality of Godhead predominates. All the living entities that are liberated souls with spiritual bodies as good as that of the Lord. There is no material contamination. Everything there is spiritual, and therefore there is nothing objectively lamentable. They are full of transcendental bliss and are without birth, death, old age, and disease. And amongst all the above mentioned Vaikuntha lokas, there is one supreme loka called Goloka Vrindavan, which is the abode of Sri Lord Krishna and his specific associates. Maharaj Parikshit was destined to achieve this particular loka, and the great rishis assembled there could foresee this. All of them consulted among themselves about the great departure of the great king, and they wanted to see him up to the last moment because they would no more be able to see such a great devotee of the Lord. When a great devotee of Lord passes away, there is nothing to be lamented because the devotee is destined to enter into the kingdom of God. But the sorry plight is that such great devotees leave our sight, and therefore there is every reason to be sorry. As the Lord is rarely to be seen by our present eyes, so also are the great devotees. The great Rishi, therefore, correctly decided to remain on the spot till the last moment. Hare Krishna.
You want to say something?
Yes, Mataji. It is amazing how they are praising a great Lord, that even the great rishis and demigods are waiting till the last moment to have a visual contact with this great devotee, because just, I guess, to be in his presence itself is like being presence in vicinity of God, because he's such a great devotee. And of course, Parishak Maharaj was so blessed that he's going to the supreme loka called Goloka Vrindavan, and which is the abode of Lord Krishna.
Yeah.
This is the quality of such a great devotee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So everybody wants to see such a devotee and so how the sages knew that he is going to go to the highest loka, Goloka Vrindavan. Nice, right?
Yes, Mataji.
That the glory of the devotee actually is higher than the sages and the rishis and all.
Yes, Mataji. This is what I've been listening paragraph after, like mantra after mantra, that all these kings in disciplic succession, they were all grahasthas. They were all like us, I guess. Children, work,
Yeah.
politics, manipulation, and pop and punya. They were dealing with everything just like us. But at the end of the life, they were able to separate themselves and leave everything and then submerge in devotion. And then
Yeah, so such examples like Parikshit Maharaj are very appropriate for us because he is living a grahastha life and an opulent life, but still his attachment to the Supreme Lord is so much that he was able to give up. And in our disciplic succession, Bhakti Vinod Thakur is a Grasta, and our Srila Prabhupada was a Grasta too, right? And if we read Lilamrita, we see that how Srila Prabhupada was so much attached to Krishna and the instruction of his spiritual master that he was able to leave home. I mean, we are not asked to leave home, but within home we make our life Krishna centered.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, not for our sense enjoyment, but for serving Krishna. And Prabhupada multiple times mentioned in the purports, what is that best service is to bring others to this process of Krishna consciousness, preaching movement, and I mean, and also like in ISKCON, actually everywhere it has, because when Srila Prabhupada came, it was like spreading in all other countries everywhere. But now if we see that more Indian inclined ISKCON, so again and again different Maharajs are speaking about that we need to actually, it is Srila Prabhupada's that we need to do more preaching in Western countries, right?
Right, ma'am.
We are here, so it's our responsibility and duty to somehow or the other work or assist those who are working in this service, to assist them in spreading Krishna consciousness in Western world. Yeah. So read one more.
No, Mataji, even in that time, the Maya was there, right? Maya was there for him
Yeah,
too.
Maya is okay. So we read, I think you missed that even at the time of Maharaj in the previous chapter, age of Kali was doing the abominable things, and then Parikshit Maharaj actually took very good action to give the age of Kali a proper place where intoxication, the 4 regulative principles are broken. So those places were given to the age of Kali, but the age of Kali was not able to find any such place. So he asked that, where should I live? Then Parikshit Maharaj said, okay, where there is gold, there you can reside. Because wherever there is gold, there is a tendency that the 4 regulative principles will be broken and people will be proud and materialistic. But in Parikshit Maharaj's rule, even the wealth was completely used in Krishna service. So it was very hard for age of Kali to sustain. And somehow this Shringi, son of Shamik Rishi, he, out of his lack of culture and immaturity, he get in trap of the Kali. Actually, that is, yes, Maya, everything was there, but the rulers like Parikshit Maharaj were such that they would make sure that everything is, all citizens are making progress in their spiritual life. They are utilizing everything in the service of the Lord. That is how things are going well, because he was a pure devotee of the Lord.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, so maybe we can do just this one more verse and we'll end. Someone want to read? All right, I can read. आश्रुत्या तदृशी गणवचा परीक्षित समं मधुचयोद्गुरु चाव्यलिकम् आभाषत नान् अभिनन्दया युक्तान् शुश्रूषमानश्चरितानि विष्णुः. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. All that was spoken by the great sages was very sweet to hear, full of meaning and appropriately presented as perfectly true. All that was spoken by great sages was very sweet to hear, full of meaning and appropriately presented as perfectly true. So after hearing them, Maharaj Parikshit, desiring to hear of the activities of the Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, congratulated again the quality of a devotee to hear more and more of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. And we saw in this whole first canto multiple places. First, the sages of Naimisharanya wanted to hear more and more. And multiple times they expressed that we are never satiated of hearing about the Supreme Lord and his devotees. So again, Maharaj Parikshit is saying that. Okay, so I think we can do one more verse quickly. Yeah, so I can read that. Samagata sarvata ev sarve veda yatha murti dharastri prashthe nehatha na mutra cha kaschanartha rate paranu graham atmashilam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The king said, O great sages, you have all very kindly assembled here. Having come from all parts of the universe, you are all as good as supreme knowledge personified, who resides in the planet above the three worlds, Satyaloka. Consequently, you are naturally inclined to do good to others, but for this, you have no interest either in this life or in the next. So only interest is do good to the others. And you are all as good as supreme knowledge personified, who resides in the planet above the three worlds. Yeah. Purport: 6 kinds of opulences, namely wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, are all originally the different attributes pertaining to the absolute personality of Godhead. The living beings, who are part and parcel entities of the Supreme Being, have all these attributes partially up to the full strength of 78%. Yeah. In the material world, these attributes up to 78% of Lord's attributes are covered by the material energy. As the sun is covered by the cloud, the covered strength of sun is very dim compared to the original glare. And similarly, the original color of the living beings with such attributes become almost extinct. There are 3 planetary systems, namely the lower worlds, the intermediate worlds, and the upper worlds. The human beings on earth are situated at the beginning of intermediate worlds, but living beings like Brahma and his contemporaries live in the upper worlds, of which the topmost is Satyaloka. In Satyaloka, the inhabitants are fully cognizant of Vedic wisdom, and thus the mystic cloud of material energy is cleared. Therefore, they are known as Vedas personified. Such persons, being fully aware of knowledge, both mundane and transcendental, have no interest in either the mundane or transcendental worlds. They are practically desireless devotees. In the mundane world, they have nothing to achieve, and in the transcendental world, they are full in themselves. Then why do they come to the mundane world? They descend to different planets as Masihas by the order of Lord to deliver the fallen souls. On the earth, they come down and do good to the people of the world in different circumstances under different climatic influences. They have nothing to do in this world save and accept, reclaim the fallen souls rotting in material existence, deluded by material energy. So the main point is that the sages who are equipped with full knowledge, who are in the topmost upper planetary system, they have nothing, but they do propagate the devotional services on the order of the Lord in order to free the conditioned living entities from the cycle of birth and death, from this rotting material existence. And also another point here is that how the jiva can have 75% of 78% of the qualities of the Lord, but because of being covered in the material existence, that those qualities become very, very dim. It's a very interesting way that Srila Prabhupada wrote this in this purport. Yeah, these attributes up to 78% of Lord's attribute are covered by material energy as the sun is covered by the cloud. The covered strength of sun is dim compared to original wear. Similarly, the original color of living beings means the qualities with such attributes becomes almost extinct. Yeah, so that's all. Somebody has something to say?
Mataji, can you expand on that? That they are above the mundane and they're so full in the transcendental, they're full in themselves in the transcendental world, and towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Is that okay? So meaning actually like they're full there, so means they don't need anything else. That is what it means, right?
Okay, they're just satisfied.
Yeah. They are known as Veda personified. Such persons, being fully aware of knowledge, both mundane and transcendental, have no interest in either the mundane or transcendental world. They are practically desireless devotees. In the mundane world, they have nothing to achieve, and in the transcendental world, they are full in themselves. Means they don't need any, just like Krishna doesn't need anything from outside, right? He's full in himself. Same way, these sages, because they have the quality like sun, they are not covered by the material energy, so they don't require anything from outside, right?
But they're still desiring to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. Right?
Yeah. That they are serving already. They are serving. They are serving because that is what transcendence means.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Means one is fully in the constitutional position, basically. Yeah. All right. Anybody wants to say anything? Yeah, if we will get some more nice verses in this chapter. So we are progressing toward completing first canto now. So tomorrow, I think there is no Chaitanya Bhagavatam.
Yeah, there will be, Mataji, we discussed like last time, we will continue.
Oh, you will continue. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's good actually. Then Chaitanya Bhagavat we will do tomorrow. All right. Thank you, dear devotees. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vrinda ki jai. Vancha kalpa. Check the passage. Jai Patitanam Pavanam.